Perfect. Well, hi everyone. As folks are rolling in, please let us know where you're joining us from in the chat. Welcome to Maddie's Fun's Community Conversations. We are so happy you could be here with us today. I'm one of your hosts, Wednesday Adams, aka Sheila Kukan, and I'm excited to welcome back Rachel Ray Williams, aka Pugsley, for this really fun festive call. Rachel Ray, as you all likely know if you joined our calls this month, is from Detroit, Michigan, and is a human and animal well-being professional that fosters a culture of community-centered solutions. Rachel Ray believes in building pathways to equitable pet adoption and pet care that results in strengthening the human and animal bond. She celebrates over 17 years of experience and has a proven track record of being a community-focused leader. She strives to connect people to resources that can build confident, solution-driven leaders and mentors, and I have just been so thrilled to host with you this month. Thank you so much for joining us again, Ray. And everyone, please join me in welcoming Rachel Ray as our host today.
Hi, so happy to be here. I have been loving doing these community calls. I'm gonna try to come back whenever you guys ask me to come back. As a speaker, as a host, as a guest, whatever makes the most sense. So, thank you for allowing me to join and host with you. Very excited about the conversation that we're going to have. But before we get into that, I have a question of the day for y'all. And are you guys matching with your pets? Or are you guys matching with your best friend like me and Sheila? Or are you matching with your kids? Like if you dress up for Halloween or you have any other holiday that you like to dress up and wear costumes with, are you dressing up those pets? And if you are, I would like to see those pets dressed up this year. Maybe we should just start a thread for that in Maddie's forum.
I love that. I'm gonna drop a photo if I have it of Zeba and I. So I am pro yay dressing up with your pet, and Zeba, my pup, and I have dressed up almost every year. And this year we're the Adams family, and I think this one is my favorite. I was the genie and she was a
Girl, you so blue.
But I would love to see other folks share some photos of your costumes, or
Yes,
if you
yes,
are
I'm
not a
having
fan of that.
love it. That's so funny. How long did it take you to get all the blue off?
Oh, it's a good thing I was renting my place because I think it was still there when I when I moved out.
If you guys have any other cute pics of your pets and you dressed up for Halloween, please continue to share them in the chat. We love to see them. We might even move this onto the forum. See here.
Oh my
All right.
gosh.
And oh, go ahead.
It's adorable. I love like the Night Before Christmas theme. And
Oh,
we have
look at
made
that whole skirt. Oh, love
oh,
it.
Carol, that's so cute. What a
I
smile.
I love cats and wigs. So if anybody has any of that, that would be great too. That really brightens my day.
Tammy, what is your mini horse dressing as? I have to know. A cup. So cute.
Is that a Rubik's Cube? Very smart. Well, you guys continue to drop that in the chat. We'll definitely see if we need to bring up another thread for just photos. In the meantime, what we're gonna do is do we have any national updates?
Yes, if you have any national updates, please go ahead and share them in the chat now, and we'll also share them on our discussion thread as well.
Thank you. And then we have a link in the chat there for the forum, a chance to win. So definitely save that link for later so you can go back into it.
Perfect. Thank you all. Keep these cute costumes coming.
Now, what I'm going to do is start to introduce our speakers for today. We have three guests with us that will be bringing this presentation to life. I'm going to read through their bios, introduce them, and then we'll go ahead and get it rolling. First off, I want to introduce Jen Toussaint. Chief Toussaint is a 13-year veteran at the Arlington County Animal Control Department, including becoming the chief of department in 2016. She studied political science, Spanish, law, psychology, and in her undergrad received her bachelor's in liberal arts from Moravian College in 2010. Jennifer is an extensive background in national instructor for animal control and law enforcement professionals on a variety of topics to include active listening, de-escalation, emergency preparedness, intake diversion, and community outreach innovations, humane animal handling, animal cruelty, and neglect investigations. She has been a CIT, a crisis intervention team instructor since 2023, specializing in mental health first response services. Jennifer actively serves on the Housing Committee with Arlington County Continuum of Care Program and is the county manager appointed for Community Advancing Resilience and Readiness Together, CART Committee, and in the Arlington County Holding Task Force. Jennifer is the 2017 recipient of Virginia Animal Control Association, Dr. Kent Roberts Animal Control Officer of the Year Award, and in 2020, her department won Outstanding Agency of the Year from the Virginia Animal Control Association. In 2021, Jennifer was awarded a COVID-19 Heroes Outstanding Service Award by Arlington County. In 2023, Jennifer was selected as an honoree of the Northern Virginia Leadership Center for Excellence 40 Under 40 Leadership, an award and a one Leader of the Year award of National Animal Care Association. Girl, that is a list, honey.
Not too much.
That is an extensive resume. I could barely
Somebody
get
needs to shorten that.
do you take any days off? Well, congratulations. That is a really wonderful story. But I'm going to introduce your other two guests as well. We also have Adam here. Adam is the Community Resources Manager for the League and responsible for the day-to-day operation and coordination of AWLA's community support programs for spay-neuter vouchers, veterinary grant assistance, pet support pantry, and crisis safekeeping. In addition, Adam oversees AWLA's the monthly low-cost vaccine at the shelter and manages animal services, also known as All Things Not Adoptions team. Are you pretty doing much everything? Adam has been with AWLA for almost 6 years and in the animal welfare field for over a decade. Originally from Wisconsin, now lives in Washington, D.C. with his wife and his two pups, Kevin and Marge, and Kitty from Seattle, named Eleanor. Thank you so much, Adam, for being here. Really appreciate that. Love a pup named Kevin. That's such a serious name for a dog.
He's the newest addition to the family. Thanks so much for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Okay. I would love to see that one dressed up. So definitely make sure you take a picture of that.
It'll be his first year this year, yeah.
Okay, cool. And then last but not least, we have Karina. Karina has worked in animal welfare field for over a decade and has proudly served as animal control officers in multiple jurisdictions in the DC metro area. Her love for animals has encouraged her to devolve into new paths, and she has devoted herself to a better understanding of how families new pathways to resources. Karina is the first animal control resource officer in Arlington's history. Ooh, setting the standard for the position and branching services between community support programs and field service. Karina shares her home with her son and her two cats. We got a really distinguished group here, so I'm so happy that you guys have chosen to present with us today, and we're take it away.
Thank you for having us.
We're so excited to be joining everyone. We are going to share a presentation to go along with some panel questions. It is my great privilege to jump off today. We're joining you from the Animal Welfare League of Arlington in Arlington, Virginia. We are just across the water from our neighbors in Washington, D.C., solely separated by the Potomac. First, we wanted to start by thanking Maddie's for allowing us to come and speak today. We love the opportunity to talk about the things that care to us most, and you're going to hear Adam and Karina talking about the hands-on work they do every single day in these areas, and it's going to be very evident that they're deeply passionate about bridging resources and connecting the community. So thank you, Maddie's. A little bit about AWLA. We are a nonprofit organization with a governmental contract. So just some clarity as to how that works. So we are the one-stop shop for all things animal in Arlington County, from field services and animal control to spay-neuter supportive services, vaccine clinics we're going to talk about later, and then all things adoptions and owner surrender. The animal control department's pretty small. There's only 7 of us. We have just under 750,000 residents with about 4 million visitors annually. We have over 86,000 dogs privately owned in Arlington County alone, not counting visitors. So we're very pet dense community. In 2020 and 2021, Yelp voted us the most pet friendly community in the United States. So lots of resources centered around pets and people. And our mission as an overall organization is to improve the lives of animals and people by providing resources, care, and protection. And we're going to jump into some questions with Karina and Adam that talk about how we get this work done and what this looks like on a daily basis. So starting with Adam, your team plays that vital role in being the first point of contact for people getting access to resources before situations become emergencies. Can you tell us a little bit about some of your preventative programs like the pet pantry and clinics and how your team is working to connect the community members to all of these programs?
Absolutely. Happy to. Thanks, Jen. So we have we're fortunate to have a few supportive programs for community members here. Like Jen said, we have spay-neuter vouchers. We have a pet support pantry, which is that picture there. We have monthly vaccine clinics. We actually have two versions of those. One that kind of serves the general public, and then another that is targeted towards Arlington folks in a little bit of a different version. Then we also have, crisis safekeeping, which we call our HELP program. That's the Housing Emergency Lifeline for Pets. So those are all basically kind of tools in our toolbox that are always available. And there's a lot of different ways that we connect folks with those. I mean, to start, just generally through our front door at the Animal Services desk, that's kind of a first point of contact place. The pet pantry is available there. We have vouchers available there. That's kind of where we can have conversations with folks that are reaching out and figure out what their needs are. And we're fortunate to have these multiple programs because we definitely see folks being able to benefit from multiple things here. So a lot of times that comes from phone calls or people just walking in, finding us online, finding us through word of mouth, and reaching out. So we do our best to really connect them with what they need in the moment, and then really just kind of figure out how we can best support them and their pet. So a few examples of that would be, somebody comes into the front door and maybe kind of a timely one here. They might say, I'm a federal employee who's been furloughed and I haven't gotten a paycheck recently. I could use some support. So something like that, we can sign somebody up for our pet pantry. Folks can take advantage of that twice in a month. It's basically similar to a human food pantry. We've got usually dry food, always some wet food. We'll do litter there, and we'll do kind of collect a lot of supplies that come in through donations or various sources, and then rehome them essentially to folks who can need them and pets who will benefit. At the same time, we kind of look for other ways that a person might need support, even if they don't necessarily mention it. So we just sort of have conversations with people and kind of suss out what exactly is going on and how we can provide support. So certainly a lot of things overlap. So, folks that might need some food assistance for their pet are sometimes also benefiting from a low-cost spay-neuter, low-cost or free vaccines at one of our clinics, that kind of thing. So we're always kind of looking for, just starting a conversation really with people and saying, how can we help you? What are your needs? And then trying to see if we can meet those through our various programs. So in addition to, encountering people through our front door and on the phone, we will meet people at those low-cost clinics that we have. Many of those are at the shelter here. And then we also have a version we call our community care clinics. And those are a similar thing. We're doing rabies shots, distemper shots, and microchips. But at the community cares, we also offer a wellness exam for pets. And we locate those out in the community, so not here at the shelter. So we try to find places that are either supportive housing or subsidized housing kind of places, like a community sort of center area. So like maybe a church or something like that has a place to kind of host events or things like that. And so we'll have a clinic there kind of trying to get directly to people where they are and meet them there, and get them those services that their pets can benefit from, really. So that's a good place to meet folks too, and we have the same conversations there. We just kind of start talking to people, see what their needs are, and see how we can best meet them there.
Thank you, Adam. I know you've seen and your teams are seeing a drastic increase in need. Obviously, being the DC metro region, a good portion of our population, over 35% of Arlington County residents alone, are federal employees. Can you tell me a little bit about the vaccine clinics and how quickly these are filling, and what kind of pressure your department is seeing on the resources that we have?
Yeah, absolutely. So the vaccine clinics can see about 140 patients per clinic. They're 3 hours long. We usually have a couple of vets, and we have a whole system of check-in, registration, seeing the vet, checking out, getting paperwork, stuff like that. So those clinics are great. They're primarily volunteer run. There's usually 3 or 4 staff members there that kind of handle critical pieces like handling money when necessary. But then primarily it's 8 to 10 volunteers on top of that. And yeah, it's really, I mean, you just always hear from people who are commenting on the expense of even basic veterinary care like this, over $100 just to walk in the door at a clinic before you've even gotten shots for your pet. So this is a great way for people to kind of access those services. And I think in some cases, kind of allows them to put their limited resources, towards something else or towards something that's a deeper care need than kind of the initial basic stuff like vaccines. Those clinics are filling up within generally the day that we open them. So within probably 6 hours, 6 to 8 hours of opening them online, all of the appointments are taken. We also try to, in recognition that not everybody's doing that online or necessarily giving us a call, we also we'll sign people up who are walk-ins, and then also via our community outreach events like the pet pantry. When we're offsite with that, we'll also look for people that might be interested in that and just sign them up on the spot in that case as well. So we definitely look for all the different places, all the touch points where we're engaging with the community, and kind of have the availability of staff or those clients to sign up kind of where they are and with ease as much as possible. And those clinics are full every single time.
Yeah, I know your team works so dynamically to create access points. I like to joke, I think there's now 10 different ways to get signed up for a clinic. Your QR coding, it's multilingual, it's posted in different community newsletters, it's just everywhere. And I know that, in a perfect world, we would have even more spots, but that 140 of them are gone in 5 hours or so just really speaks to the high community need. One of the things that people on the call might be really interested about is your veterinary assistant grant program. I know we're going to talk later with Karina about how this is utilized in relation with field services, but I know this is grant funded. And can you talk a little bit about what these grants look like and how you work with veterinary partners in the region to get these resources to the families most in need?
Absolutely, yeah. So the vet assistance grants, we kind of have 2 tracks for them. What we call emergencies and chronic conditions. Chronic conditions I end up kind of thinking of as many things that are just not emergencies necessarily. So the way it works is people will complete an application, basically tell us who they are, who their pet is, and what the situation is, what's going on. If they have been to a vet, they'll give us some medical information. Sometimes they're just describing something that they're seeing at home or an incident that just occurred. So we have an application for that. It is electronic. Again, we can do it on paper as well, kind of whatever is gonna, get it done quickest with the client. Once we have that application, we'll review it and make sure kind of the situation meets what we're able to help with. There is an income limit there that we set at $60,000 for a household income. And folks also need to be Arlington residents. So the good thing is we have a couple different ways of helping to meet this need. So there's the grant program here where we're providing funds directly to a clinic or a veterinarian to provide care with the owner. Generally, we leave what that care is to the owner and the vet because we just kind of feel like that's up to the owner to make care decisions like that with whatever resources are available. So we do emergencies, broken bones, hit by cars, an occasional one, wounds, that kind of thing. A lot of not eliminating GI stuff. That is definitely a constant thing that's out there. Chronic conditions are more like things that are known to be existing. Obviously, maybe it's something that's been diagnosed in the past. In those cases, I might help with something like a blood glucose curve for a diabetic animal, a medication refill, those kind of things. They're just generally like a smaller dollar amount than the emergencies. So again, the same way with the vouchers and all those things is we have all the different touch points and ways that people can get in touch with us to apply for those. I also try to make it as easy as possible, especially in emergency situations when kind of speed is important with meeting that need. So sometimes in lieu of an application, I may just actually work directly with a veterinarian who has the client there. So I definitely look for ways that the administrative part of this does not get in the way of actually providing the care. So because that's the priority, right, is actually getting the animal stable, the animal treated, that kind of thing. So I may work just directly with a vet to complete the application, so to speak, if they'll tell me exactly what's going on and what they think is the best kind of course of action or direction to go. So creating those relationships is really important. One of the things that's come about from a relationship we have with one of our veterinarians here, well, essentially, it's allowed us to have a relationship with them where they help with grants, they help with clinics, they help in multiple ways. So in certain cases, I can, with those relationships, that is to say, I can work directly with a vet to kind of speed up that application, or in some cases, I can also help people that don't quite meet the requirements of the program, but still get them some kind of care or support at a veterinarian when possible.
Yeah, I know you and I worked through one literally minutes before the call. There's a dog named Vader getting wound care management and some GI distress support right now in an animal hospital here in Arlington because the vets know to call us to offer the grant and they meet us halfway. That tremendous veterinarian was like, I'll waive all visit fees. Can you please help me pay for the medications for this beloved pet? One of the things that your team specializes in, and just touching on it very briefly, is meeting people in emergencies. So we've talked about the veterinary grants. Can you give a brief overview of what the HELP program looks like? And I know we'll talk more about that with Karina.
Sure, yeah. HELP is Housing Emergency Lifeline for Pets. This is basically assisting folks who are in typically crisis situations where there's a housing issue and there's not a place for their pet, and oftentimes not necessarily a roof over the head of the person either. So there's a lot of different ways that we end up leveraging this program. Oftentimes it is through case managers, case workers for the county who reach out to us when they have a client. It's people who are landing themselves in shelters here, in the various ones for whatever reason it is. And they're basically looking for safekeeping for their pet. Oftentimes it's folks who don't have necessarily a large support network or really any other individuals nearby who can support them. So this is the league taking temporary custody of their pet while they kind of work through that situation and figuring out, what their next steps are for typically housing and for themselves and their pet. It's not always that, though. Sometimes it's things like a hospitalization for somebody who is, lives alone and doesn't have other caretakers for their pet. So we will work with those folks too. Like if there's, a week-long something in the hospital they need to be with, we can figure out a way to either house their pet here or potentially in one of our shelters foster homes too.
We're going to jump over to Karina. Thank you so much, Adam. Karina, you've been working in animal control and animal welfare professional fields for decades now. You are Arlington County's first resource officer. So you not only do all of field services, but you assist in managing animal services and offering supportive services. AWLA has a grooming support program. Can you tell us a little bit about how people are connected to grooming support and how that works?
Sure. Because of one of the tools that Adam has, we, as an animal control officers, um, can have the option to offer those type of grooming, what we call it vouchers for the members of the public. If we have any calls that any of their pets in their home, it looks like they will benefit from, I don't know, nail trimming, grooming, or just something that just because whatever X situation is happening in the home, the owner is not capable to provide something like that. Luckily, we have the groomer at the shelter that they can make the appointment and we can actually link with that. And that way we can prevent to, go to something more, I would say, like go towards the enforcement part. Eh, Luckily, we have this type of support to offer to the residents of Arlington at any day, at any time.
Yeah, I know you're so deeply passionate about offering resources and enrichment kits. I know we offer a variety of them. Can you talk about the resource kits that officers carry here in the county and when you might give those out to the community?
Sure. So we all of the officers have some sort of I would say some sort of packages, but I would say that we also have the option to link them with our pet pantry. We prepare little packages for people who probably never heard of us or they're new to the area and they are going through situations like this. So we are able to bring them a package that it will be giving them a first start, especially for people who are maybe unhoused. We are able to provide them some sort of a small package for them to have them based on their situation that they are in.
Yeah, I know this has been a tremendous way that you've been working to also bridge with behavioral supportive services. As we all know, like everything that's gotten more expensive, getting training support, if your pet is going through separation anxiety or you're starting to get barking complaints, can be so very difficult. I know one of the things you feel so deeply about is being a resource first based agency. This is the photos you're looking at are Chaco. The one on the right was taken 3 days ago. The one on the left was taken only 2 weeks prior to that. Yay for veterinary medicine and the ability to treat sarcoptic mange. This was a connectivity between animal control officers and resource officers and Adam's team. There were no charges filed whatsoever, and this family was supported to get Chaco back to health and safety. Can you talk about what being able to offer these resources and to say resource-based instead of enforcement-based means to you?
Sure. So this is one of the situations that we actually were involved from almost at the beginning of the situation of that we interacted with the owner. Luckily, we had Adam, and Adam was able to help us make the connection, create the whole type of offer the medical help for them, and they got a grant to provide him the medical care that he needed. And in all these situations, sometimes it's not just about offering the medical services, it's about to do a follow-up as well. Sometimes, many times, we deal with people who also are going through some sort of mental stages in their own personal life, and then somewhat in the way the animals get affected. So the great benefit of having this type of medical help, these grants, help from the help program or the grants is because situations like that we can offer little by little, go step by step and make sure they do get the service. And not just they get the service, they go, they go from the beginning all the way to the end, so they able to finalize and work with all the ways that we can have the care manager to make sure their clients are following step by step. Sometimes it's that's the case too, to be there and be following step by step with them so the animal can get better.
Yeah, I think it's so important. And I think the part of the work that speaks so much to me is, Karina, I've seen you advocate for people to get CPAP machines, air conditioners, access to Meals on Wheels. Like, you're looking at the entire health and dynamic of the family. And I think that's what you were talking about now, that, this isn't just about Chaco. This is about also the health and safety and honoring the dignity of the owner as they work through their own dynamic difficulties. This owner, just so everybody knows, I know the one on the left, we all know mange can look terrible really quickly. She was trying her hardest, right? Neosporin every day, trying to give medicated baths. But we all know that sarcoptic mange just needs that oral antibiotic to go with anything topical. And he went from looking like that to better in less than $400. Like, it's just the smallest things. But I know, Karina, you're so passionate about checking up and checking in with the family because we're supporting the entirety of the family. It's not a one and done. We don't want to just see the photo that Chaco's healthy and assume they don't need any additional support. And I know you're so passionate about connecting people to the services they deserve well outside of pet support. You've talked a little bit about voucher support, Karina. Can you talk about, and I love this photo of you from a recent clinic. Karina jumps in to do everything. She's handling, she's vaccinating, she's doing everything. You love supporting people with vouchers. You're very passionate about offering spay-neuter support. Can you talk about how you've done that in the field and some of the changes and the feedback you've received from community members?
Yeah, so we, as animal control officers, we can have a few vouchers per month, and we doing our welfare checks, or if it's some sort of any type of situation in the home that um, let we are arriving to the house and we are noticing that there is this large amount of animals, either dogs, cats. We always have the opportunity to offer a spay and neuter voucher. Not always they are, open to accept that. We always continue trying to support them in one way or another. And most of the time, just the constant conversation, communication, and trying to explain a little bit of what it is. Most of the time, I would say like 80% of the time, people are really happy to go and move forward to get their animals fixed, spay or neuter. So the vouchers that we carry are extremely handy for us,
Yeah.
especially when we go from home to home.
Yeah, and I know those vouchers allow them to come in and it's a no questions asked. If they're carrying an animal control voucher, that officer's already had a conversation and Adam's very gracious team just quickly signs them up through the process. I want to make sure we leave some time for Q&A. Hopefully, we've been getting some questions coming our way, but we can't thank you both enough for your time and energy and all the stuff you've been putting into the field. And I'll turn it back over to the moderators.
Thank you so much. We definitely have a couple of questions in the chat, so I'm going to read off a few of them. And if any of our attendees have questions, definitely throw them in chat too. We really appreciate this. The first question that we have is, do you qualify people for your low-income programs to limit the amount of administrative stuff you have to do to ensure services go to families who need it most? And that's from Aaron Walker. And Aaron, if this question's been asked or you would like to elaborate, please take yourself off mute.
Yeah, I don't have anything to elaborate on it, but thank you.
You're welcome. So you ultimately just want to know,
I just want to know how do you qualify, or do you just accept that if somebody is coming to you for service, you're you're just accepting that they need
Yes.
service.
Essentially, it's essentially an honor system now. There was a previous time when we would try to do income verification either through pay stubs somehow or taxes or something like that. We kind of came to a point where we thought like even doing that wasn't necessarily telling us the whole story of the family, anyways. And it kind of felt like it was more of a burden for people to bring it than useful, really. So we like with vouchers, we ask, and it's essentially a person attesting to meeting our income limit. We do check residency and verify that. But in terms of the income, we pretty much just tell people what the limit is, and then it's like you you tell us if you meet it, or you honestly tell us that you need the service. And there's definitely people who, you see in some extremely fancy car pulling into the shelter. We don't necessarily know actually what that means. Again, we just had a lot of people kind of go on furlough. You never really know. So we use our judgment in a fair amount of cases. I will say there's probably people who could get by without our help. That probably does happen. But I think for me at least, it's more important to make sure I'm being open and, all of my programs are accessible to those folks who really need them, because that's definitely the majority of people who even just reach out.
Yeah, we like to talk as an organization about what it takes to come down and ask for help, right? And like how much energy that takes and how humbling that experience can be. And so we were like, why are we putting roadblocks where they didn't need to belong? And the other thing is what we were doing and what we largely do when we look at these community-centric programs, because I also work in human housing, is we create barriers to try and wheedle out the 1% that might be taking advantage, but we actually just make it so much harder for the 99.9% that is doing everything correct and really needed access to the services. So we were like, we're not going to focus on that tiny margin, and our donors, the people who support some of these programs, truly respect the work that we're doing, and they see the community benefit. I mean, Karina and Adam can tell you, we vaccinate hundreds of animals monthly that never had access to vaccine support or veterinary services before.
Yeah. Excellent. That's such great points. And with people losing their SNAP benefits on November 1st, I anticipate that more folks will need pet food and food for themselves. So we should all just anticipate helping people without putting those barriers in place, because it's coming. A couple of more questions that I have is, how is your pantry supported? Is there any particular company that helps with food?
There's not really. It's pretty much entirely donation based. We as a shelter do also put some money towards it. But it's pretty much, entirely from the community that we basically turn around and find other, place it with people who need it. Yeah.
Yeah, our development team does a tremendous fundraising event once a year that brings in around $12,000 or so on average to support. And this money hits our operating budget. And that comes down to those hard discussions about what do you fund and where are you putting your money as an organization. But the community, like donors and people who want to get involved, it's a really easy story to tell about how being able to turn a family away from having to surrender their rabbit because you can offer hay and pellet support. It means so much. Like there's 3 children standing in front of you, and you only have to tell one story to have a donor that will engage to support that work.
Thank you. I have a question from Allison Cardona. Can you talk a little bit about your relationship with human services and other law enforcement agencies? We hear a lot about what you guys have done to collaborate. So can you tell us more about how you foster that relationship, started it, and how you continue to be in this relationship to support the community members?
So we have a bit of a cheat here in Arlington County in that what we would call the safety net partners, the nonprofits, there are 12 of us supporting children, housing, human food, animal food. We were kind of like the the pivotal 12 in the county, meeting all of the needs that are not community supported, came together a number of years ago and petitioned the county to form something called the Continuum of Care. And that Continuum of Care is a county-wide program where individuals can gain access to resources through one access point of care. So they can get screened in one centralized location, and the banquet of nonprofit and county resources just sits in front of them with easy determinations of what they qualify for. And so it is a seamless system at this point, but that took a lot of energy over decades of working alongside one another to continue to tell the story to county leadership about what this looks like on a lived daily experience. I know when COVID happened, we had to rush in and talk about what eviction feels like, and what we were seeing in order to get the money to move and the things to change at a county level. And then additionally, our law enforcement partners, it's I like to say it's not an easy sell, or it's not a hard sell in Arlington County. Arlington's all in for animals. You'd be hard pressed to find someone in a uniform that's not going to go out of their way for an animal, but we just work in concert with one another. It's just a seamless system across. So to Adam's point, his help program and evictions, it is a direct connection. Somebody can be actively being evicted. Karina is out on site. She's calling Adam, and in 10 minutes, animals are opted into a program with no cost where they get multiple weeks of free boarding. This stuff works very quickly. The clinic or the grant we were talking about, Adam and I finalized a grant in under 3 minutes with a veterinary center before the call started. These systems move very fast now.
I love it. I love when people are just ready to respond. Like, we can spend a lot of time talking about this, or we can just address the needs that are in front of us so we can all move forward. I have another question from Elkie. Oh, actually, yeah, I have one question for Elkie. Do you ever run out of budget with either of your voucher programs? Yeah, kind of figured that. And
It's
in
possible. Yeah.
conjunction to that, what'd you say?
I said, yes, it's possible. It's happened.
Yep.
It's a budgeting process for sure.
Yeah. So what kind of fundraising ideas have worked and that you guys exercise regularly to kind of support these programs?
We definitely have, as Jen was saying, like some specifically committed donors for those programs that kind of sustain it year over year, and for a particular amount, and then we do our own fundraising on top of that to kind of flesh out the fund. We kind of have just figured out what a general number is for our shelter with what the need that comes in over the last few years. I've been holding that pot of money for a little while now, and we can kind of see what the level generally is. We do kind of think about I have to consider what level of support I can give with that budget in mind as well. So I do have to kind of make some hard decisions sometimes. Sometimes I'm not able to do everything that I would want to, but we're always looking for just at least, getting something for the animal, getting stabilization, getting, information that an owner can make a decision from, something like that. So even in those cases where we're limited to an extent where I can't just do something for somebody, or a particular kind of care isn't reachable, we always try to get something going, give someone some support, some information to act on, that kind of thing. Yeah, so it's case by case, and it's managing it really throughout an entire fiscal year.
Yeah. How
One of
many
the things
volunteers?
that I wanted to uplift, Rachel, is like the photos of Chaco, we ask permission. So you'll commonly see when we do extend grants and things, we'll ask the owner, we'll talk about how they were able to get access to those funds and say, we wouldn't want to put pictures of your family in them, but would you be okay with just a photo of the before and after of your pet, talking about how deeply he was loved and how we were able to provide just a few $100s to meet your family need. And 99.9% of the time, they're like, oh, absolutely. And she actually sent the after, like we didn't She took the after picture. We didn't take the after picture.
Just gonna keep texting you.
Yeah, they love to send you and be like, "Oh my gosh, he's looking so good." And I was like, "It's a miracle." But asking and honoring the dignity of the families, but asking them, "Would you be okay with us talking about your story? Can we make sure that we don't include a photo or any identifiers, but tell the story about what this program does?"
How many volunteers do you folks have on like a yearly basis that like actively participate in this work that you guys do?
Many.
The number is
Um,
big.
gosh,
It
yeah.
is.
Well, I mean, we're very fortunate with volunteers. I have volunteers that work at the animal services desk, even helping there. And yeah, as I said earlier, every clinic has probably a minimum of 10 volunteers each time. And that's just those two things, so definitely in terms of those programs, there's just a lot of volunteer support. And really that 140, 150-ish number was not what we were doing, like 2 years ago when we just had everything smaller. Like the volunteers have really kind of made that possible, that level of scale.
And you got to trust them to do a good job, and they usually will. So, how much can you actually do as one person? Not much, but when it's a league of people, you can do a lot. Oh my goodness, this is so exciting. I love hearing people get help that they need. Any other questions? I got like one more question I could squeeze in.
I would like to point out something.
Yes.
I think the organization works so well. It's also thank you to the volunteers that we have, because without them, we wouldn't be able to do all of what we do, all what we offer, just because it's too much. And, luckily, gratefully, we have such a great dedicated volunteers.
Yeah, love to hear that. If you have any other questions, any other thoughts, please head to the forum to answer some questions. We'll have questions in the chat for y'all, in the forum for y'all, so y'all can answer one by one individually, or as a group. If you have any resources that you would like to share that's similar to the ones that talked about on this call, definitely throw them on the forum, and keep this conversation going. I foresee lots more people needing help in the next coming months, weeks, years. So we really have to be strong about what's working, what's not working, and what's the best way to deliver things that people need the most, without having so many barriers. So love having this conversation. Definitely. Thank you so much for joining us and everything like that. Sheila, my favorite Wednesday.
So much. Thank you. This was a really wonderful conversation and such a refreshing perspective that you all shared. So grateful to have you here with us. We do have a reflection question for yourselves and attendees today, so feel free to think about it and answer on the forum if it calls to you. The question is, where can we create bridges to allow our community members to gain access to additional resources working together collaboratively as one animal welfare community? So definitely a big one to think about. But truly, thank you so much, Jen, Adam, and Karina. This was a really important conversation. Thank you so much, Rachel Ray, for co-hosting with me again. It has been such a fun month with you. Would love to have you back anytime. Thank you all so much for being part of this community. Please note that we do not have calls on November 3rd and 10th in observance of our fall break. And for those who are maybe traveling to AWLA, please have safe travels and a wonderful time at the conference. We will be back November 17th for a conversation with the San Francisco SPCA on community-driven recruitment and retention. And as always, if you're interested in hosting or speaking, or if there are topics you would like to hear about, please let us know on Maddie's Pet Forum. And thank you all so much. This has been a wonderful call.
Thank you for inviting us.
Yeah, thank you for having us. Thank you for all the questions.
Stay safe, everyone.